Hey everybody, welcome to The Edge. I'm Trey Griggs, your host. So excited that you are with us today for another highlight, another showcase of the latest in logistics technology. So excited that you are here. We are sponsored by the Maneir Group, simplifying supply chain and technology recruiting. Check them out at maneirgroup.com. A good friend, Wasim Maneir. And listen, if you're a golfer, you guys are really going to get along. So make sure you let them know that you heard about it right here on The Edge. Again, maneirgroup.com. Tell Wasim that you said that you heard about it from us right here on The Edge. All right, we've got a great guest today, great show. We get to talk about sales today, which I'm really excited about. We don't get to do that very often on here. A lot of times the technology we're showcasing is more ops in nature, but today it's all about sales. So please welcome my special guest today from Salesdash CRM, Josh Lyles in the house today. With the green wall back there, this is a nice little vibe. It's long. You need some lighting or something, some strobe lights or something in there. What's up, my friend? How are you?
Trey, doing well. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Doing good, man. Doing good. I love it, man. You got the LED lighting in the background, just looking fly. You're vibing over there. Love it, man. So cool. Love it. Thanks for being on the show, man. Appreciate you being on here. We got to talk about sales today, which I'm really excited about. We don't get to do that too often on the show, but before we get to that, quick question: how did you even get into this industry, man? What's your intro story? We all have one. Nobody planned to be here.
Yeah, I think just like a lot of other people stumbled into it from people that were in it and a tight-knit group. I was working for Tesla here in Nashville, and two of my first friends that I met were in brokerage for One Point Logistics, who was owned by Keep Trucking, and met a lot of their coworkers. And when I was looking to make a move out, I just grabbed onto the appeal.
Well, I got to say, not too many people would say the same thing. I don't think that this looks appealing from the outside too much, but I think you told me before that you saw some people that worked in the industry that were hanging out together, and you were hanging out with them, and it just seemed like a fun community to be a part of. Yeah,
exactly. Yep. So I was working with, good friend Andy Shields, and I know Andy, playing golf with him and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it was pretty much with their whole crew, but yeah, and I didn't really understand it, didn't get it until I was going on site for the interviews and saw the environment when I was there, and it was pretty interesting. And then when you just kind of understand everything that goes into the transportation industry, I think that's what became the attractive part of wanting to be a part of it.
Yeah, and you've always had a sales mindset. You were doing sales at Tesla. You're a part of that process. What was sales at Tesla like? Well, I mean, I always think of Tesla as just like social media and just buzz around it. But what did you guys do from a sales side?
Yeah, so I joined them back in 2016. It was kind of the earlier days before Model 3 was out, which is their more affordable car. But when I got there, I started off kind of field level, ground level as a product specialist, which essentially I just captured leads on the floor. I worked in a mall, so it was really unique because our location was in a mall, and a lot of people would walk by and they'd be like, why in the world is there cars or a quote unquote dealership in the mall, even though they didn't have dealerships? So yeah, I started off capturing leads just to learn it. Got into sales, loved it. It was just super fast paced. It was challenging. Obviously the cars were a little bit more expensive, and there wasn't as much of a established network of chargers and all that kind of stuff. And then little by little, I got into management. CRM was a big part of that because I felt like it really helped me out in my sales career. And then when I got into assistant management and whatnot, which ultimately moved me from Atlanta to Nashville, but just fast paced and honestly a lot of fun. It was just a fun, chaotic environment.
Yeah, Tesla back in the day was kind of a novelty, like only the really wealthy could afford them. You had to have, some infrastructure to charge it. And there's some limitations in that regard. It's definitely become more mainstream. We're seeing that all the time. My kids and I have a game we play. We started this 4 years ago where if we saw Tesla, the first one to call it out would get points. We don't really keep track of points, but it was kind of a fun game. And we did that because it was rare at the time. Like it was rare to see a Tesla on the road. We still do it to this day. And it's like 4 or 5 Teslas we'll see on a 5-minute drive. Like they're all over it. So it's definitely gone more mainstream. But that sounds like that would have been a good experience back in the mall, having a little fun with that. Almost like something out of Back to the Future, like a DeLorean sitting there in the mall. And people just want to see what is this car? What is this thing all about, man? This is crazy.
Exactly, especially with the Model X when we'd have that one in the showroom because it had the Falcon Wing doors that would go up. People would like try to yank on the doors, and sometimes they get all nervous and stuff. But yeah, when they found out that it was electric powered, that's always when the curiosity would come out.
Yeah, I can imagine. Did you get to drive some Teslas before you started selling them? Did they give you that experience so you would know what you're talking about?
Yeah, so my second week there, I did well kind of coming out of the gate capturing leads, and they actually let me go to this event in Crossville, Tennessee. It was at the small little winery that had destination chargers there. So I got to go on, a 3-hour road trip, and it was just the coolest thing ever. I took a bunch of pictures. I got to do the autopilot and all that stuff. So
Wow,
that
you had
was kind of the
autopilot
first.
back then, and it
Yeah,
worked. Wow. Okay,
yep, it was smooth.
that's
I
pretty
was
cool,
sold
man.
immediately.
Wait, do you own a Tesla today? Are you a Tesla owner?
I do, yeah. I have a Model 3, the
Nice,
more affordable
nice.
one.
So you totally drank the Kool-Aid, man. You're like, I don't care what this costs. We're gonna make this work.
Yeah, when I moved here, so I got it before the federal tax credit went away, and then there was a 48-hour period where they ran a pretty large internal deal for employees, and I was gonna get one. Like my timeline at that point was probably I was a year and a half away, but at that like when I ran the numbers and everything, it just made more sense to do it at that time, and I definitely don't regret it. It's
Yeah,
been awesome, and I,
it's
I
the
was a
one
huge
car.
I was a huge company guy at that point.
I bet I could totally see that. It's
Mhm.
the one car that I've had friends tell me it gets better with time, where most cars tend to get worse with time, like feature wise. Like it
Correct.
gets better because you upgrade the software and you get something new that you didn't have before. I think that's pretty cool in this day and age. To have that type of experience with a car, which we've never had. You drive a car off the lot and all of a sudden it's old, and there's a better model out there. So
Right.
I think that's a pretty cool feature that Tesla is going for them. Speaking of technology and cars, I know you know a little bit about Torque Robotics. They're fine tuning their autonomous fleet operations, looking to do autonomous truck launching in 2027. This keeps kind of getting pushed out. Some dates are set. Do you think we're going to hit that date? That's 3 years from now, having autonomous trucks really out there on the road in a more commercial way.
Uh, I can't speak 100 specifically to that, but I'd always push the timeline back. Just from being at Tesla all those years with all the cars and when they wanted to get stuff to production and out for delivery, and then still seeing all the ones that they've had, it almost seems like it's an extra 2 years that the stuff typically happens sometimes. And I've also experienced that from being in software now. You anticipate stuff being ready by this date, and then certain things pop up and the date always goes back. So who knows?
Yeah.
You never know. But if I was a betting man, then I would probably push the timeline a little bit further back from what they actually estimate as the time.
Yeah, twice as long and twice as expensive, I think, is the standard way to think about anything that has to do with technology. And what's
Correct.
interesting is I'm really curious how the public's going to handle this with having trucks on the road, 80,000 pounds driving on the road without a driver. I mean, and they'll have a pilot for a while, but eventually
Mhm.
they're talking about fully autonomous. That just seems like it's going to be hard for the general public to swallow that. It seems like it's going to be difficult.
Yeah, it definitely will take time. I mean, I don't know. Speaking from experience with Tesla, it could be a whole different conversation. But I think there's a lot of benefits if it went more towards autonomous, just from a safety perspective. There's definitely some truth
Yeah.
in numbers when it comes to the safety aspect of autonomous vehicles, but they definitely still have a long way to go. And there's probably also some infrastructure that needs to happen on the roads to help, expand that nationwide.
Yeah, yeah. And speaking of safety, the Institute for Highway Safety conducted an experiment and found that those crash sensors on the front, those
Mhm.
objects in view type things, that they're not as good in identifying trucks. They can identify cars pretty well,
Mhm.
motorcycles fairly well, but when it comes to
Yep.
like fully sized trucks, it doesn't see them as well. Probably because it doesn't see the background changes. And it's just a bigger vehicle, and that's also pretty dangerous. If the one vehicle on the road you can't see is the heaviest one, that could be a little bit of a problem from a safety perspective.
Yeah.
So I think they've got a few things to work out, but at the same time, I'm pretty excited about it because I like electric. I go to a golf course. I definitely want an electric golf cart. I don't want the gas powered golf cart. Those things suck. Electric ones are way better. So,
Right, exactly. Yeah, they are more fun.
all right, let's turn to Salesdash, man. Let's talk about what we're here to talk about, and that is you saw a need to develop a CRM specifically for the industry. Before we talk about that, we appreciate you being on the show. Do you want a water bottle or do you want another coffee mug? What do you prefer from the show
I
today? Thanks for being on
I'm
the
I'm gonna go another coffee mug, man. I got
show.
my other one here. I brought it out, got my
Oh,
water in
look
it.
at
Been
that. Look
standing
at
out. Look
that.
at that. Yeah, I'll
That's
go
fire.
I'll
All
go
right.
another
Well,
coffee mug. Can never have too many.
we'll get you a twin coffee mug. It'll be on the way, man. We appreciate you being on this show today for sure. All right. So
Thank you.
what, talk about your experience at Silo, which is where you were with Andy Shields, and what initially inspired you to create this product? What was it that you're like, man, there's a need for this and I want to do it?
Yeah, so it was actually after One Point shut down is when I wanted to build and started building Salesdash. CRM was just something that really helped me in the automotive space at Tesla, and then also in the freight brokerage space when I was at One Point. I just felt that I had spent a good amount of time educating myself on it because I wanted to. There was a period in time at Tesla that was more of a challenging time, and I really needed to dial in my processes. And I eventually got it to just really help me out and excel in where I was at that time for sales. And then when I got into management, I felt that it was really helping me out when it came to coaching my teams and having some top regional, national performers at Tesla that I coached. And then when I got into freight brokerage, saw some pretty good success when it came to new shipper onboarding and expanding existing relationships. So it was really after one point got shut down. And then uh, I guess in a quick summary, it was basically a situation where my go-to-market was pretty poor. I honestly started like wanted to build it more for just small businesses and solopreneurs of any industry. And so I'd sell to like real estate, insurance, freight brokerage, logistics, and all kinds of just random industries. And it wasn't smart. It was just casting a net too wide, which I know you and I have talked about before. Um, wasn't making anything really happen. And so I ended up joining Silo because I wanted to continue building it, but really figure out go to market a little bit more and whatnot. And so then I eventually had left, but those experiences were really good because one point was a little bit more on the like chasing market share revenue side of things. And then Silo is, I think, a lot more strategic financially when it came to, being a sustainable growth, profitable business in the open deck space, very niche. And even just kind of seeing that really helped me understand that that's a really, in my opinion, it's a really smart way to grow. Like start, like own your little corner, be really good, specific at what you're at. And then eventually I left because I did want to, like I was still having my developers work on Salesdash, but we, still didn't have a really good plan for it. And I really wanted to figure it out. So I know that sounds weird because I kind of just went off with not even the best game plan, but after a few months got to a point where I just like had to own it and niche down into the logistics space. And so from the second half of last year in 2023, we focused everything with our product development all in freight. Going to TIA last year was a really awesome experience because it helped me realize that there's not really a lot of players in this space in the CRM aspect when it comes to freight tech. And, we've been seeing some pretty good traction, and interest. So not everybody loves CRMs, but sales is a huge component in freight brokerage when it comes to, just making dials and emails and just outbound. And then, the everything that comes into not just trying to onboard new shippers, but also grow, expanding, the relationships that you just onboarded. So, it's been fun to tackle because a lot of systems are very large, generic, and we're just trying to simplify it.
So let's back up and talk about that. So you first started kind of being like a HubSpot 2.0, like just all things to all people type of a CRM. Decided to niche down into logistics specifically for freight brokers. Why was that necessary? What was it about HubSpot, or a lot of companies have Salesforce out there, or I think Pipedrive is another one that I hear quite often. What was it about those systems that just wasn't solving the problem for this market?
Yeah, so I think a lot of it's, some of the language that you see in the CRM. A lot of people pay thousands and thousands of dollars to implementation specialists and consultants to customize the CRM to speak the language. And so I felt that was a big area of opportunity. It was just to already have it templated out so you can be more guided in your sales process. That also can take a lot of time to actually implement with the team. And just like a simple way that I always put it is, a lot of people are in freight brokerage. A lot of people have been in it for a while. If you were to talk to your spouse and ask them what a freight broker does, they probably would still struggle explaining, exactly what a freight broker does. And so the situation where you have to hire an implementation specialist or a consultant, you're going to have to educate them on what you do. And I've heard some really interesting stories of how they would build it out. And I already just know that it's going to be a lot of time and money wasted because they don't understand the business. And so I think just the templating from the start to help guide it, and then also just it's as simple as it seems. It's actually removing a lot of stuff that you would not do in the system, so that way the teams can be more efficient and actually going through the process within sales. And freight broker sales is a little bit different, where I think a lot of CRMs are built for companies that sell software. So you're seeing a lot of that kind of language of annual contract values and contract sort of language. Whereas in freight brokerage sales, it's a little bit different, obviously, with accounts. And when you first onboard them and get them as a customer, a lot of times, like, you're just getting started, and that's why account management and obviously ops and carrier sales is so important. And so I think that visibility and that flow and process is, there's just some gaps that can be filled that those CRMs won't necessarily be able to build because of the specific needs that a freight broker may have.
Yeah, I've sold technology in the space for a long time, over a decade, and we, and sometimes use Salesforce. One time used Oracle, a product they had called Siebel, and then used HubSpot. And you're right, a lot of it is designed more for SaaS sales, recurring revenue, monthly subscriptions with annual contract value type stuff. And
Right.
you almost have to bastardize the system to make it work for you if you're not in that vein, if you're not doing that. But there are some TMSs that have CRM kind of
Mhm.
features as well. Have you found that a lot of those just are just not substantial enough? Like they just aren't good enough? Like what is your status of like the TMS CRMs that are out there trying to accomplish some of that?
Yeah, I think for the TMS is that they just focus on the operational side, and it probably makes the most because there's so much that goes into that. But we have plenty of customers that have, they came from using the the light CRM features that TMS has had. It just wasn't extensive enough when it came to pipeline management or when it came to, call notes, emails, integrations, that kind of stuff. A lot of it was centered around follow-ups, and pipeline again. So that was kind of the main thing, is that it wasn't extensive enough for a salesperson to have full scope and full visibility, on all their leads, everything that's in their pipeline, and with, certain kind of reports that would help them grow their sales.
Yeah, I think that's the thing too. Like you said, with leadership, you don't see a lot of the analytics and the reports to
Right.
help make decisions with how sales reps are doing, what they might need from a coaching standpoint, where they're struggling, where they're excelling, reporting on commissions. I mean, that's a big, like for salespeople, you don't want to mess up commissions. That's a big thing, and you might
Right.
have the functionality to follow up or to do a sale, but what does it look like to calculate commissions and make sure you get that right and payrolls right? There's a lot of features there that some of those light CRMs don't tackle from a TMS perspective. So I
Mhm.
think that's interesting. There are a couple of players that have come out recently in the CRM space. I think I just heard of Bridger. Dan Deacon is coming out with that one as well, and a few others. What really sets Salesdash apart from some of those other CRMs, or what makes it worth checking out?
Yeah, so I mean, I think for us, it's a pretty simple platform. Like if you're looking for something simple and also really cost effective, it's going to be really in those two buckets. But some of the problems just in general that we solve are going to be user adoption. So out of the box, it's already templated for freight brokers, for a salesperson's dashboard, for sales management's dashboard, sales discovery when it comes to when you're actually prospecting out to shippers. And we also, give you the ability to capture carriers and capture lanes for both shippers and carriers. So it is more specific. The other thing is visibility. That's a big thing that we come across that is an issue when I'm doing demos with, potential companies or even from our existing customers, is what's going on with this shipper, or, what does this salesperson's pipeline look like, and just for better internal collaboration. Duplicate accounts is a really big thing, in preventing the same, salespeople within a team from prospecting the same shipper. It can be a frustrating thing for that shipper, and you may be
you
causing
can
yourself.
start a fight with that.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, pretty much. And you just don't want to ruin that opportunity. So there's some things that we do to help prevent that. It's not to where it's 100%, but I think it's it's honestly pretty close. It just depends on the unique nuances of how their organization set up. And then cost wise, we're definitely very cost effective, especially for teams of 10 and more people. It's going to be fractions of what you'd pay for a lot of the large generic CRMs, that are out there. Customer support is probably one of the biggest things. I don't typically like to talk about it too much, but I do think it matters from a responsiveness standpoint and just assistance. So I think for myself, having freight brokerage background, knowing a lot of the best practices of how people set this up from a reporting standpoint, but also understanding just, how can you just try to get it into a simple workflow that makes the most sense for you so you can just sell, is really important. But I pride myself on trying to respond within an hour, if not 15 to 30 minutes, to every email that I get. I give everybody my phone number, because a lot of the lifting, I would say it's kind of opposite from a freight broker, whereas like when you turn on a shipper and you start working with them, it's very slow to start off with because you got to earn their trust, right? They're not opening up the floodgates and just giving you all their freight and a ton of shipments. But for us, it's just more labor intensive from the beginning to get everything customized, set up, training, workflows, that kind of stuff. Um, and then I think the last two things are more so just on, like, we just came out with a new feature recently called the shot clock. And with this, it automatically it puts time back in sales managers' days for sure, and it like prevents some micromanaging. But for managers, it's great because it can automatically move accounts that a sales rep's not actively prospecting within a certain amount of days into an unassigned bucket. You can set a maximum amount of accounts that a rep can own, because one of the big things that we find that people get wrong with CRMs, and then eventually they get out of them, is they get too overwhelmed and they put too many leads in a rep's name and they don't know where to start. But also you're just preventing the salesperson from doing enough follow-ups and building rapport with that shipper. So we've done that. And then we've also just created that unassigned leads bucket. So if your salespeople need 5 leads, 10 leads, 20 leads, and I can speak to this from experience of like, hey, I need leads, you can either manage it yourself as the manager, or you can give the freedom to your salespeople to just go and pick from those available ones that are just open in the CRM for the sales reps.
Well, let's be honest, some sales reps do a better job of just keeping opportunities in their name or accounts in their name than they are actually selling them. They just want to keep them in their name until they come through
Sandbagging.
and then take credit for it. That's right. So, to not actively be prospecting, but just keeping them in your name. I like that feature of, hey, you can only have this many accounts to work on, whatever that kind of set, is. So I think that's really wise. So I've had those experiences as well, where some guy's sitting on 400 leads, 400
Right.
companies, but there's no way he's prospecting them all. He's just waiting for him to, for the ship to come in, and then he's going to, say, well, that's mine. I had it. So there's a lot to that,
There is a lot to that. And I mean, for the sales people, for the sales reps, there's always times where sales reps know that another team member is like prospecting an account that they would love to get after if they can. Right. So at least that, like, if you're a salesperson, that somebody's not being as active, then I think that's just a great opportunity for them, because they know, okay, hey, these will open up for the reps that aren't, prospecting, doing their job.
Yeah. Yeah. And Kelsey, thanks for watching the show today. She verifies, she vouches for you. Extremely
Shout out to Kelsey. Thank you, Kelsey.
You got a fan watching the show today, which is great. Yeah, there's a lot of little nuances to it. I got to ask a couple more follow-up questions on it. Does it matter if a brokerage is a cradle to grave model or more of a kind of Chicago model in terms of what works best?
So no, we have that's a great question, because I talk to people. I mean, on every single demo, I want to understand, are they cradle to grave, or are they split model? And the majority of people I find are a hybrid. Like, they may be majority cradle to grave, but then they have some that are split, or pod model, or vice versa. But a lot of the times I find that it's a mix of both, because it just all depends on the accounts that they're working with. But we have cradle to grave brokers, account executives, account managers, sales ops, carrier sales reps, even in the CRM, managers for visibility. So those are typically who we have using the CRM, and the primary goals for them are going to be to onboard new shippers or grow existing accounts.
And what about freight brokerages that have an agent model as well? So they might have an in-house brokerage, but then they have agents that kind of run their own book of business. Is it set up to accommodate that from a sales perspective?
Yes. Yep. It's set up. There's data permissions that you can toggle between, who can view what, who can edit what, can you view other people's stuff? And it also still helps block those duplicates too. If, somebody, like, you may not have access to be able to view, I may not have access to view Trey's leads, but if I try to reach out to one of Trey's accounts, or if I try to add them into the CRM, it can still block me and let me know that it already exists in the system, and whoever's the super admin can let them know what that situation is.
Yeah, no, that's great. I love that, because I think that there's just those just little nuances that matter when it comes to getting things set up right, and the flexibility that it might offer in that regard. So I think that's huge. We're going to come back and do a demo in just a minute, so hold tight, Josh. We're back in just a second. We got to give a shout out to our sponsor, the Monero Group. Love working with them. If you're looking to hire and needing help, they're going to simplify the process. But don't take our word for it. Hear what their customers have to say.
The Monero Group, they definitely went far above my expectations.
We had not been working with Wasim and his team. I'm sure that my team would look very different.
The quality of Wasim's candidates are top notch.
Wasim and his company definitely gave me an edge against everybody else, I imagine, that was going for the position.
My favorite thing about working with the Monero Group is really just it feels like a partnership.
Wasim is the go-to guy in the industry. If you're not talking to him, you should be now.
And thank you once again to our friends over at the Monero Group. Listen, if you're a freight brokerage or if you're a logistics tech company and you're looking to fill some positions, definitely reach out to Wasim. He's going to help you out. Him and his team are going to take care of you. So again, thanks so much for their help. And be sure to click on the link that's in the comments in order to connect with them directly. All right, Josh, it's demo time, my friend. Are you ready to go? We want to see this thing. I want to know how this thing works. So I'm going to turn the screen over to you. And why don't you give us a little sales demo? If you're trying to sell me or sell the audience, what does this look like?
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll go through some of the different features, but this is going to be the dashboard for any of the salespeople when they first sign up. We put a big emphasis on tasks, just in regards to your follow-up. So it's something that you can't really miss. That's on here. It's going to be the first thing you're scheduling.
Okay,
your
pause.
open
Before
tasks.
you go any further, I have to say this. You've done a good job of putting your logo in the dashboard, my friend. Well done. I'm seeing it. I see the logo in the dashboard. Well done. All right, keep going.
Exactly. Yeah, there was some inspiration that went behind that for the pipeline there. So for the scheduled and open tasks, it's going to be all your tasks for today. Overdue tasks are going to be kind of the next flow of tasks that you would see. These are going to be super common that you're going to have for a freight broker. Once a truck falls off or something, you got to drop everything and you may not get to all of your prospecting tasks. And then one thing that we do that I do think is a little bit more unique compared to other CRMs is we have these suggested tasks here, which are active and available leads that are in your name. They're not a customer. They're not disqualified, but you just don't have a follow-up set for them. So all this is just kind of built to be a workflow manager to help keep salespeople very organized and also prevent things from slipping through the cracks. And then you have just a bunch of different reports. So you have like an active shipper leads report that you can jump into.
Back up to the tasks. This is something I always wished CRM would have, and that is, I might have 20 tasks scheduled for the day, and it's a great day of selling. I spend some time, and I got some contracts to send out and all that kind of stuff. I don't get to all 20 tasks, and then the day kind of gets away from me, and I come the next day. Is there anything in here that will automatically take my tasks that I didn't do today and make them do tomorrow, or are they just sit in that overdue category? I hate the overdue. I feel like a terrible procrastinator.
So we do have, because the only thing is that, especially for freight brokers, right? Like I think it's pretty common for them to have 20, 30, 40, 50 tasks in a day. And so if we were to move, I think the only reason, because you bring up a good point, Trey, but I think if we did, then it could potentially have way too many on a specific day. So we do leave them in the overdue bucket.
Snowballs. Gets out of control.
We do kind of have this. Yeah, we do have this easy area though, where if you need to organize them like at speed, you technically could just basically roll through and like mark this one for today, mark this one for tomorrow, and just assign those to the right days that you may need to, especially from your calendar view, which would kind of show you, how many you may have on a specific day.
Does that connect? Does that integrate with your calendar so you can see what's going on holistically, or is it just the sales calendar?
Yeah, it does integrate. So we do an integration with both Gmail and Outlook. And that's an integration for your email and your calendar. Now, when it comes to your calendar, it's only going to push events that have, for example, like this Kraft Heinz one that has a start and an end time. Those will be the times where that would actually push to your Outlook calendar. But for the open tasks, which are going to be a lot of the tasks, those aren't, because it's not technically an event that gets pushed. So, but there is some syncing that does go with that. So.
Very cool.
But yeah, I won't get into like too many of the nuances of the dashboard. This is just really built to kind of be an area, to help the salesperson manage their pipeline with different pipeline reports. They can see their customers, a report of all their shippers that they haven't contacted in the past 14 days, which, can help them basically just make sure that they're staying in front of their shippers.
Is the dashboard customizable? Can I have different reports or different things that I might want to see either as a sales rep, maybe as a sales ops person, maybe as a sales manager?
Yeah, so you can build out different reports, and you can kind of just like drag and drop the tiles in terms of,
I love
where
that.
you want them to go. So you can build out different dashboards. And so like the second one that we're going to take a look at, and this is what is kind of templated out of the box when you first sign up for Salesdash, is this company overview dashboard. So I don't have a ton of data in here, but this could, for like a manager, would show you calls by sales rep today, team activities for the last 7 days, or pipeline reports for the whole company. You can just basically see really quickly, like Josh has 8 shippers he hasn't contacted in the past 14 days. Ashley only 1. So you can kind of see this more from a macro level view. And same situation, you can customize this, because I come across brokerages that, they like to see calls, they like to see sometimes emails, they like to see all activities combined. They may want to separate it between like customers versus prospects. And so, are they like we contacting customers only and not prospects? And then you can also do some things based on the result of an activity, like if they made contact, because I was talking to one of our customers about it yesterday. You may not sure, they may have 60 activities in one day, but you may want to talk with them about the 5 connects that they had, right? So like what's actually what is being moved.
So the company view, is that only for the manager or for leadership, or does everybody get like the leaderboard, for example, of how the whole team is doing, those kind of things?
It's all based on permissions. So you kind of just set different permissions and visibility. When you go to create a dashboard from scratch, if we were to build one, it's kind of 3 different levels where you can make it a personal dashboard, a team dashboard, or a company dashboard. So when you create them, and then you can also mark the dashboards as public or private.
Okay, so I could create like a dashboard for every team member of mine, so I could see what everybody's doing individually. I could have a company one where I could see how the whole group is doing. So there's some ways that we can do that. I could create a team board so everybody gets to see the leaderboard, make that public. I could do a leadership board for each person, make it private. I see what you're saying.
Yeah, so from a teams aspect, you can create different teams in the CRM and assign people to those teams based on their roles, and you can create different roles and set different data permissions, for what people can or can't do in the CRM. But from what you're sort of talking about from a viewing aspect, where it says viewing as Josh Lyles up here, this is where you can actually see the different team members, and I can either view as Josh, I could view as Ashley, and again, you can toggle what can be viewed and what can't. But you can, I can jump in if I'm doing a one-on-one with Ashley just to see, what does her dashboard look like? If I'm doing a pipeline review, I can take a look directly at her pipeline, her leads, and, do it from this view if I wanted to. And the team view is more so, or like the carrier sales dashboard here, for example, is anybody that would be within the carrier sales team that's in the CRM.
Okay. And I was going to ask that question. So this is interesting. So obviously customer sales is maybe the inspiration behind this, but carrier sales, are carrier sales teams using this as well? Is it designed for that?
Yeah, we have a small number of carrier sales teams that are using this, and full transparency, I mean, we're continuing to enhance what we already have right now, but we do give you the ability to import, and you can manage communications with carriers directly in the CRM. So you can log calls, you can send emails directly to your carrier contacts, whether it's just, a basic email, or even if it's to a dispatcher or driver, you can email them directly from the platform. With your Gmail or Outlook integration. We have a bunch of different little email templates that you can create email templates. We don't provide them, but you can create them with little personalization fields. So this way you can email faster.
Store documents. Can you put documents in that are like reoccurring documents to send out potentially, or any templated documents like anything else that they might need to get signed or something like that?
Yeah, so they could still send that. I mean, setup packets and stuff they may still want to do through the carrier tools that they're using for setup packets, but you can send documents, from the email, and then you can just, basically like the general information. You typically want to know, like, where is the carrier you like to run, what's their equipment type that they have, what's their fleet size. You may want to know just like any other general information. You can call them directly from the CRM with a Ring Central integration, which we have that pops up here. And the one thing that we have that we're going to continue to kind of expand on as time goes on is the ability to capture lanes. So with this, whether it's like within a carrier page or in an account page, you can capture lanes. So this way it's actually easy to search the preferred lanes for a carrier or, for the customers. And I think on the shipper side, it's important because, I mean, it's sales, right? Like you're going to get a lot of opportunities, but you technically, most of the time, statistics always say like you lose more than you win. And so with that, when you're capturing the lanes for the shippers, a use case could be, okay, if I have a very trusted carrier that, let's just say like they run a lane from Atlanta to St. Louis and they're looking for freight out of St. Louis, I can go in here out of my 25 accounts that I have, type in St. Louis, and it'll refine all of my results for any shippers that would pop up that have a lane going out of St. Louis. And then that's a conversation that carrier sales rep can have with the salesperson, drive more internal communication, and see what other opportunities they have to expand the account or just get a trusted carrier onto that opportunity. So more to come on this because it's pretty fresh and pretty new, but we've been getting some really good feedback from those that have been using the system and really diving into it. And we're pretty excited to keep seeing how it progresses from here.
Good old Anheuser-Busch there in your system. Love to see that. So let me follow up on that question real quick. So you've got carrier sales and you got customer sales, 2 separate workflows you've pretty much created talking to customers out there. But it sounds like there's some opportunities for carrier sales and customer sales to communicate. through the tool.
Absolutely.
Maybe opportunities, so a customer sales rep might have an opportunity out of St. Louis, like you said, and they could potentially find the trucks that are available in the system. The carriers are doing that, and reach out to a carrier sales team member and say, hey, I have this opportunity, and they can work together on it. Is that the intent of that?
Exactly. Yep. So that way, because we found that teams will still store some of their top, and like if you take, I don't know, if you take even like 5, 10, 20 carrier sales reps, right? We've still found that a good amount of them will still store, and I know a lot of this can live in the TMS, but they'll still store a lot of their top relationships in spreadsheets. So instead of that, with the different equipment types and the contacts, it's actually just a comprehensive database that everybody can search for that data. And really the teams that we have that are actively in this, they are actively calling onto their carriers to understand what lanes they are. So that way, they can try to drive themselves as much as they possibly can off the load boards. And this is from conversations that I have with them. So that way it makes it easier for their teams to work together to drive more internal conversation. And I always like how really actually two of my customers have put it is just the more that they can drive that internal communication between their customer sales team and their carrier sales team, the more that they're going to win. And so, we want to continue to help them lift that as much as possible because it only creates better opportunity. And it's with again, especially on the carrier side, if it's carriers that you trust and run with, then you're going to have a lot more confidence when you go to try to sell.
And I'm assuming there has to be some pretty strong integrations with some of the major TMSs out there in terms of data and making sure the data flow and that experience exists, correct?
Not yet. It is actively in progress right now. Yes, like actively.
That's down. So it's a little further in the show. We talk about new features.
Yeah, I mean, so the biggest thing on that, if I'm to give the quick breakdown, is there's a ton of TMSs out there, as I'm sure you're aware of. So we're going to look at making importing kind of the first route that we go. And then based on the customers that we work with and the top TMSs that the highest volume of them work with, we've already taken a look at some open API documents for some of the TMSs. But then we'll kind of, take it one by one from there.
Very good. And I got to ask this, what percentage of new customers that you're bringing on are you taking off of spreadsheets versus migrating from another system like HubSpot or Salesforce? What percentage are still using spreadsheets that obviously see the value of having a system like this?
It's a good question. Honestly, off the top of my head, I don't, but a good amount. I will say that there's a good amount that still use spreadsheets. Good old fashioned pen and paper, like it never goes out of style. So all three situations are going to be spreadsheets, minimal TMS features for CRM or I would say like large complex CRMs that their team's just not adopting or they cost a lot. So I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to say it's 50%, but I get surprised actually how many people still lean on the spreadsheets, even if they may have a CRM.
I'm surprised to hear that people are using pen and paper. If I had to do a job and it was based on me using pen and paper, I would probably get fired really quick. Like I just would not be good at that. So spreadsheets, I can understand. You can enter information, you can manipulate formulas, but man, pen and paper, that's crazy.
Yeah. And look, it's not to say that stuff can't work, because it can. And like everybody had to do that at one point before all this stuff became a reality and technology advanced. But I think if you're somebody that is pushing higher volume and you're really just trying to be more efficient, you just take the concept of pen and paper. You're going to have to flip back through pages versus, I can go in here, type in Amazon, they're going to pop up and I've got all my notes and it's just the easiest thing for me to find. Right. So yeah.
All right. So two questions before we take a quick break here with a few announcements. So the first question is this: what's like what is the real selling point for a user, for a sales rep? Like, what do they love about the system? What are like, man, we can't live without this? What's the one feature, workflow, or whatever that sales reps really love?
Yeah. So I think the biggest thing actually is the email template. So, when you jump into an account, the email, and it's not that that's like groundbreaking tech by any means, but it's just, hey, you have one place that you can send these out. It automatically logs that in here, so you don't have to log that you send an email. It's a pretty, I think we've designed it in a pretty clean format. There's personalization fields that you can add to these templates, so that way you don't even have to type in the first name of a contact. So that's why you can just email a lot faster. You can even schedule them out to go out at another time. And then you can still reply on those threads directly from here. And then beyond that, it tracks email opens. So I think this is kind of helpful, especially in today's day and age where a lot of people are landing in spam, but you just, if you're testing out subject lines or first lines and you're trying to get really tactical on your emails, it's kind of a good indicator to know what may be working or is not working. or hey, like when's a good time to actually pick up the phone and call the customer, right? If you're not getting any engagement there. So I would say that the Ring Central integration definitely is something we've gotten positive feedback on, because you can just hover over the phone here, click this, and it's just going to automatically dial, and it can automatically log calls for you as well. We missed on the timeline for this today, but I think by Monday or Tuesday, the system should be to the point where it automatically drops like if you have Ring Central's automated call recording feature, that it should automatically drop the link in the note when it automatically logs the call. So we're really excited about that. We've been going through some testing, when it comes to that. So those would probably,
So we'll
probably
record
be,
and it'll actually put the recording right with that tasks. It'll
correct, as it logs the call. Yep.
Yeah. And the emailing is just one-off emails. It's not sequence. It's just a one-off email, one at a time. Correct.
Correct. But we do offer as an add-on email sequencing and bulk emailing. So you can do a bulk email to 20, 50, 100 contacts at a time. You can also create automated email sequences, which not everybody uses, because there's a lot of people in freight that do care about the personalization, and we still allow for personalized at scale, I guess you can say. But this is all routed through a third-party trusted application that we use in different server. So you basically would just create the email templates that you'd want, set the amount of days that you sort of want those spread out, and then it tracks all the different analytics for opens, clicks, replies, and if you're landing in spam as well.
Very
So
cool.
I always,
yeah, go ahead.
yeah, I was just going to say, I think people have to be very cautious about the bulk emailing and the email sequences, because a lot of people do it from their primary domain, and they'll think, oh, this is fantastic. Well, I can just blast 2,000 or 20,000 people, because with the Zoom Infos of the world and the Apollos and the Seamlesses, you can get as many contacts your heart desires. And I think with that, you have to be really cautious, because you don't understand that, like, you can get marked in spam. I'll have people that they'll like accept invites for demos or send me a note, and they go to spam because they've done this previously. So
Yep.
I think it's something you want to educate yourself on. It doesn't take that long. I post about that from a content perspective every now and then. But you want to just be methodical and not get trigger happy with blasting out thousands of emails.
Yeah, a lot of people don't understand that there is an email police out there that monitors
Correct.
these things and puts you in jail if you do the wrong things. And I would also say, if you're going to do sequences and bulk email, make them good. Like, they need to be really good, educational, give something away for free, make it interesting. Like, they got to be good. Don't do the basic stuff. It's just not worth it. I'd rather do no sequencing and no bulk emails than bad. It's like swag. Can't have bad swag either. You can't do that. It's got to be good. So, the emails have got to be good, everybody, especially when sequencing or in bulk. All right, last question before we take a quick break. What do sales leaders really like about the system?
Just the reporting and visibility. They want to know what's going on.
Does it give them triggers? Does it give them things like, hey, you should pay attention to Amanda, she's struggling here? Does it, like, how in depth does it help them out, or is it more just a view that they then assess themselves?
Yeah, it's just more so from the dashboard views. And so I would say, like, for ourselves, it's aligning with them. I think we already provide a decent amount of it from the start, again, out of the box. I don't find ourselves doing too much fine tuning and customization. But I think the biggest thing is this, right? Is for a manager, like, your goal is not to just sit there and tell somebody like, hey, you need to make more dials. Your goal is also to be a coach and to help somebody say, like, how do you get more ops into your pipeline? How do you progress sales? How do you shorten the sales cycle? How do you connect with the shipper more effectively? And I think the way that you do this most effectively is it comes down to accountability, and it does start with the managers themselves. And with that, if you're doing weekly one-on-ones, bi-weekly, or even monthly one-on-ones, you want to be making sure that you're talking about the same kind of KPIs and the same stuff, so you can continue to build and then refine from there. And if you're not doing that, then I think you're really hurting yourself, because then that's where CRM projects go wrong. And I just don't think that you're being that effective as a sales manager. So if you can put into practice, I would say, like, the best teams that we work with, they create the internal documents. This is when you create a deal into the pipeline, right? It's spot freight for a new facility. It's an RFP. It's a mini bid. It's project-based freight that we may be quoting and coming up. But how are you helping people progress things through the pipeline with strategy? And is it an activity problem, or is it a sales skill problem? And being able to identify that fast is really important. So It's really just the visibility for them. I think that's what matters, and for them to be able to drill into accounts, and also from a macro level view for the reports.
Does it have the ability to store? Does the platform have the ability to store KPIs and goals for a team?
When you say store, do you mean like keep a
You
collection?
mean, like,
Like,
let's
hey,
say,
this is what
okay, so
happened.
it's like our one of our goals for productivity is everybody's going to make at least 50 calls a day, and we're going to make that in there, and then maybe gauge against that, like how many calls did you make, to where you can say, hey, you hit 80% of your productivity goal.
So the way that we have it now, like we have this little area here that kind of shows you a progress bar based on what you set for your goals within the CRM.
Okay, yeah, there you go.
And then,
Okay,
yeah, so this kind of helps do it just based on 3 core KPIs. So driving activities, adding new deals into the pipeline, and then new deal.
are
Or
those
one.
custom KPIs? Like, can they change them out, or are those the 3?
Yeah, they can change them out and change the time periods. So if it's a daily, weekly, monthly, or quarterly goal, they can change that. And then when it does come to the reports, whether it's based on activities or accounts, anything of that nature, what the teams can do is like you can run a report and like based on custom dates and results and all that kind of stuff as needed.
Very cool. Love that, man. That's awesome. That's really good. All right, we'll take a little break. Hang on just 1 second. We're going to come back in just a moment. We got a few announcements for everybody. First of all, in February, just a few days away, we're going to be moving all of our content live. All of those episodes are going to YouTube, going to our YouTube channel. So make sure you subscribe today. Go to YouTube and search for beta_podcast_network. Beta Podcast Network, and be sure to subscribe so you can see all of our content, episodes of The Edge, episodes of Standing Out, episodes of Word on the Street, plus some fun content that we're putting out there as a team. It's all going to be there, and we'd love for you to be a part of our community. So again, check us out over on YouTube at Beta Podcast Network. Be sure to subscribe. Also, follow us on social media at Beta Consulting Group, usually Beta_Consulting Group, Consulting_Group. But you'll find us out there if you search, especially on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. And lastly, I know we're getting close to the beginning of February, but it is not too late to sign up for Manifest in Vegas. You're going to see a lot of technology out there. It's going to be 3.5, 4 days or so in Las Vegas, a great event, probably one of the best events in supply chain overall. If you'd like to save a little bit of money, make sure you go to manifestvegas.com/Word on the Street. That is our coupon code for our partnership with Manifest. So hopefully we'll see you in Vegas. If you're going to be there, be sure to reach out to us and let us know that you're going to be there. And finally, if you have interest in sponsoring The Edge, if you'd like to showcase your brand and get it out there, be sure to reach out to us and just let us know. Send us an email to hello@betaconsultinggroup.com or find me on LinkedIn, and let's talk really, really soon. All right, Josh, real quick, we've got to finish up here with the conversation. We're getting close. Time goes by fast, man. We're at 48 minutes already. So fast. So what are some new features? What are some things that customers are asking for, you guys are listening to, and you're thinking about throwing in there?
Yeah, so I mean, we just added one big one, like the one of the most requested things, at least for us, going through end of year, and we just did our first big update for the year, was the shot clock feature. So to be able to automatically move inactive
I know that had to
accounts
be like your name because you're a baller, man. You love NBA, you love basketball.
Love it.
That you had to go with that. I love it.
Yep. Yeah, and one of our we had, and it's funny too because like we had one customer say it, and I was like, oh, I love that name, and then I heard 4 other people, so it may have just come from like a traditional brokerage, in-house software, which I did also start to catch that some of that kind of did from some other top brokerages, which makes sense, and I get it because they've all split off to now build their own brokerages. I mean, really, right now, what we're like, we do have some little things that we're focused on to just kind of fine tune with what we have right now, but the biggest things that we're working on are, I would say, the ability to import some historical data. And then from there, it's just going to be, I would say, like, as we get through probably Q1, is going to be a lot on the integration side with TMSs and other freight tech companies. So it's been also really cool to build more relationships with other people in the freight tech community. I think it's really powerful, when we can all connect and see how our tools can potentially work together to enhance the experience for our customers. And I've had some good conversations, and it's not anything that, we're actively doing right now, but at least to see if there's an opportunity down the road. And it's definitely something that we want to explore. So it's cool because we get our customers that ask us about it. And, the more that we've developed on the carrier side, we get people that ask us about these tools, and they're like, so I just basically keep a profile in the CRM. I use Salesdash of what they use. So that way I know exactly who to go to, when we're looking at getting it built out.
Yeah, that's exciting. You're becoming a tech player in the space, my friend. Salesdash CRM making some noise, especially last year, like you said, at TIA Technovations, getting to be up on the stage, the Shark Tank. That was awesome to see up there, showing off what you guys are doing. So I think that's awesome. Have any customers asked you to gamify the system to make it more gamey?
No. And I would like to, because I think you got to drive some competitiveness in sales. So, but no, that's a great question. They have
That
not.
may be your Steve Jobs moment where you build something that you know they want before they know they want it. That could be a Steve Jobs tech moment for you if that is the case. But I think that's a fun way to do it. I remember when my first major sales position was at DAT out in Portland,
Mhm.
and we had a team of 9, and it wasn't really gamified from a technology standpoint, but it was definitely gamified from a leaderboard standpoint. Like we knew
Right.
where everybody stood throughout the month, and it was really competitive. And there were 4 or 5 of us that we just kept going at each other every month. So I think there could be a lot of things that would be great on that level when customers are ready for it, which I think that's great. Are you hitting any trade shows this spring? Where are we going to see out on the road?
The only thing I plan to go in the first half of the year, because I'm shortening my conference list this year. But the only thing I'm going to do for the first half of this year, we're a bootstrap company, so these conferences they start to add up, and I went to a decent amount last year. But the only one I'm going to go to probably the first half of this year is TIA in Phoenix. I'm excited about that because I have not been out to Phoenix yet. Would like to potentially catch a basketball game, go check out the Phoenix Suns if I possibly
Ooh,
can.
count
Just
me
being
in. Let's do that. I'll be there. We can go do
Yeah.
that.
So
Yeah.
I will let you know, or for anybody else that may want to do that. But that's going to be the only one for the first half of the year. I think there's a couple golf events that I'll be at during the summer. And then second half, I'll probably go to 1 or 2. I just don't really know quite yet.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Like you went to a lot last year. You kind of take a year and you promote yourself, you get yourself out there, and then you got to just hunker down and build and sell.
Correct.
That aspect of it. And then I'm sure we'll see you back out on the road as things continue to progress for you. But love what you've done with the platform, man. Love seeing you succeed. And what's the best way that people can get in touch with you to learn more, to sign up?
Yeah, so you can always go to our website, sales-crm.com. You can schedule a demo. I'll host the demo, or you can try it for free for 14 days, risk-free. So no credit card needed or anything. You can try it out, see what you think. If you do, I'll be sure to reach out just to see if there's anything that I can help with. And feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn as well, Josh Lyles. Always typically pretty responsive and trying to, keep the content game active like Trey Griggs over here.
And if you want to talk basketball, you can find him on Twitter at J Lyles. What is it? J
A Lyles. I haven't. I've Twitter can get distracting for me, so I have to start off the year. I have limited my Twitter usage because it can be too fun sometimes, and I'm in a very focused period right now.
Especially talking basketball, it can get out of hand pretty quickly. That's for sure. Hey, another event. I know you're not going to this one this year. Well, maybe we can get you to it. I don't know, but the TMSA Elevate Conference is a phenomenal place to meet other sales and marketing professionals. It's going to be in New Orleans this year, June 8th through 11. And Beta Consulting Group, we're going to be emceeing the event again. So we're so excited about that again. So it's going to be a great time. So to learn more about that, go to events.tmsatoday.org and sign up for that. It's going to be a phenomenal time again, just to connect with other sales and marketing professionals and see tools, hopefully like Salesdash CRM. Maybe we can get you there, my friend. New Orleans in June. Can you pull that off? Could you make that happen?
I took a look at that one. I really want to go to a TMSA event. I'll probably go to one. I'll probably do it next year. I would love to go to New Orleans though and get some crawfish down there. That would be fun. Go to a little crawfish boil or something.
Yeah, and what are those, like beignets? What are those little muffin
beignets?
Beignets.
Like
Get some of those.
Over sugary donuts.
like unhealthy over sugary. I mean, it's ridiculous how sugary those things are. We had some last spring. We were down there for spring break. So great place down there. Well, Josh, again, thanks so much for coming on, man. Thanks for showing off what you're doing. I appreciate what you're doing in the industry. We need good tech and we need good people leading the tech, and appreciate you doing that, man. So you'll have to come back and tell us how things go. Maybe in a year or so when you got the gamification all set up, we'll have to take another look.
Yeah, I may have to get some ideas from you on how do we try to spice it up a little bit. But
As
always, Trey, as always, I appreciate you hosting and doing a great job here, and thanks for giving us a platform.
Yeah, appreciate it. We got to go out to your walk-up song. We got to get that going up. So we'll just get a little bit of that. And again, we'll see you real soon, Josh. Thank you so much.
Bridget.
All right, everybody. Hey, make sure you come back for every episode of the Edge. It's going to be a little bit different this year. We're only going to highlight 4 companies for the year. We'll have one more. We did that last year. It was really great. we're going to have that as well. That's going to happen probably the first week of May. So be on the lookout for the next episode of The Edge, which will probably be late March. We got a couple of candidates to be on the show, so hopefully that happens. And again, we'll look forward to seeing you back here. Also, thanks to our sponsor, the Monero Group. Make sure you check them out at monerogroup.com, and we will see you guys on the flip-flop. Take care, everybody. We'll see you.